Welcome back, everybody, to Starting Six, a volleyball podcast with Haley and Liv. We are recapping week 12. We are recording on a Sunday. So despite the usual routine of these episodes, we will not be talking about the new rankings because they're not out yet.
We don't have them.
And we're afraid.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about them, actually.
Yeah, so this works out for the best. You know, we reflected a little on our bitterness in
behaviors.
last episode. Yeah, it was poor behavior. It was funny, but it was poor behavior.
Yes.
And sometimes I think that's the beauty of sports. It's hard to stay neutral when the team you love and care about so much, you know, is losing. Like, we don't want to talk about it the way we talk about other teams in a neutral fashion because that's our team. You know, that's what sports are about.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this was another tough week.
Yeah. We're not going to be as bitter, though. We've collected ourselves. We reflected. Yes. We will be better. So we apologize to all those who
we reflected.
Did not appreciate our words towards Wisconsin. I apologize, Wisconsin.
They're not going to be like overly great this week either, but we're not going to be so annoyed. And the rankings not being out is helpful to that, I think.
Yes.
We're just recapping some volleyball. That's it this week. So, and you know, we didn't make the Wisconsin-Purdue game the game of the week. No. So that we don't have to, you know, we have to keep moving it along. We can't spend forever talking about it. So that was strategically planned. It also wasn't my game of the week because I hated the outcome. So it doesn't count. All right, let's dive right into it. So we're recapping week 12 here, and most of that action started on November 15th, which was Wednesday. The first top 25 matchup that happened was number 17 Kansas hosting number 23 Baylor. This ended in a sweep, which at first I was like, predictable. Yeah. But then I was like, I don't know if it should have been a sweep.
I don't think so.
And it was it wasn't a total beating. The scores were 25-16, 27-25, 25-21. So it wasn't a total beating. You know, Kansas being at home is definitely an advantage in that situation. And they've kind of been on a little bit of a hot streak for sure, compared to Baylor. But Baylor still put up fantastic numbers. I mean, Elise McGee had 12 kills, hitting almost 400. Manuela Bibinbe, I can never just say that one right. Like, it looks like Bibinbe.
I think that's right.
Bibinbe?
I think that's right.
Anyway, she had 11 kills and was hitting 500. But Kansas's offense was just a little bit higher. Regan Burns had 17 kills, hitting over 500, and Aya El-Nady had 12 kills, hitting over 400. You know, usually we don't go too in depth with sweeps. Obviously, this was a top 25 matchup, but Kansas's hitting numbers were insanity. Like, they hit 483, a 538, and a 333. So awesome. Like, that is an insanely high offensive numbers for Kansas against a top 25 matchup.
Yeah. I feel like Baylor, you know, they are a young team. We've talked about them a lot. And I think maybe getting towards the end of the season, NCAA time is coming. I think this should have gone 4 or 5, at least 4. But I feel like maybe they're just starting to get too much in their head about what their seating's going to look like, what the next step is, instead of just like focusing. And I could be completely wrong, but I would probably do that, like looking forward to the next step, because they only have another week of games and then it's tournament time. So they're probably already just focusing on tournament time, not even really focusing on the games this week. And as a younger team, that happens more often than an older team. You know, they know to just keep grinding away and stay focused on what's right in front of them, and then they'll worry about the tournament later. But that could have been a factor in that match.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a really great point because, you know, it's also starting to come out, like, I don't know if it was necessarily happening starting on Wednesday, but they are starting to post about teams that are clinching conference titles, which means they're clinching bids to the NCAA tournament. So for anyone who doesn't know, in all college sports, really, you win your conference, you get an automatic bid to the NCAA tournament. And that stuff has kind of started to come to fruition with only a week left of conference play. So like some teams have 1 or 2 regular season games left.
Yeah.
Because actually a week from now, we're going to be making our brackets because all those teams are going to be announced. So it's coming up quicker than you think. And I think that's a great point. I didn't even think about that when you're in that younger mindset and you're on a team that's been top 25 all year, you are starting to think like, ooh, who are we going to be playing? Are we going to be able to host? Like, what games do we have to win to host? What games do we have to win to get this seed? Like, you do start to kind of think about that. And I think going into a match against Kansas, who is, number 17, but a very steady team, very strong team offensively, you don't have time to be worrying about that. You got to get out of conference before you can worry about the postseason for sure.
Yeah. Because I remember one match when we played college, we were going to River Falls, and there was games in our conference that were happening while we were on the bus. And depending on who won, depended on if we needed to win or if it was like okay to lose and we'd still win. And I remember thinking about that the whole bus ride, and then we knew the outcome, and then it messed with our heads even more that we needed to win to move forward. And I think that's going to happen more this coming week with 1 or 2 games left. Then you go into conference like, is this a must win that we need to win this one and the next one, or what can the outcomes be? Our fate depends on this team winning or that team losing. Like, I think all throughout college volleyball, that's going to be a theme potentially with all teams. They're thinking towards the NCAA tournament. There's a lot of unknowns at that moment and a lot of uncontrollables too with how other teams do. And that's really hard to mentally grasp when you're trying to like focus in and do all that you can, but knowing that there's other things that could happen that doesn't matter what you do, that's the outcome that they're going to determine your outcome.
Right. No, yeah, I think that's a really great point. I didn't even think about that, honestly. I think you're right. I think the age definitely plays a factor in it too, but I do think that while these games are happening, I mean, probably at this point heading into week 13, it's a little bit different, but I do think it's a little premature to still be worrying about that. I mean, you're a top 25 team, you're probably going to get a bid. So just focus on doing what you can in conference to keep that spot for another week, because that could also cause you to lose out, that kind of thing. I think that's a great point.
Yeah.
The next matchup we had here, a little shaky coming from number 10 Arkansas. Yeah. So number 10 Arkansas was on the road at Ole Miss and won in a 5-set thriller. This team, they actually won in a reverse sweep. I have to mention that because us. But they were pretty just ping-ponging, I would say. And Arkansas pulled it out. They did, barely. So they went down 21-25, 23-25, came back and won 25-21, 25-15, 15-8. So Ole Miss just kind of crumbled there at the end. Arkansas's top hitter, of course, Jillian Gillen, who we mention every time we talk about Arkansas. She had 24 kills, hitting a .333 with 16 digs. And Taylor Heed head knocked her.
It is. I watched Arkansas today. It's head. It's Taylor Head. That's what the announcers were saying. So I was like, I need to tell Haley.
I would have gone Heed.
Yeah.
Okay, Taylor Head. Okay, interesting. Thank you for that. That's much needed. 17 kills, hitting a .229 with 17 digs. And then Maggie Cartwright had 15 kills, hitting a .189. For Ole Miss, Julia Dice had 19 kills, hitting a .245. And then they had 2 hitters with 10 kills, hitting over 200. So, fairly even, I would say, offensively. It looks like Arkansas just had a couple more offensive threats. But I think that this is kind of proof that Jillian Gillen is a massive threat to any opponent that Arkansas faces. Like, she is insane. Like, she's putting up these numbers every single game.
Yeah, and she's a shorter hitter, outside hitter for a Division I top 10 program, but she plays like she's 7 feet tall. Like, she has so much power and so much strength in her swing. It's really fun to watch her because she's not only is she like just swinging away, but she's also really smart with it. She's tooling off the block, so the other team can't even defend it, which is so smart. And what you have to do when you're a smaller hitter, you have to find ways that the other teams can't defend you.
Yeah, that is something that you and I talk about all the time, because even for Division III, the two of us are rather short for hitters. Yeah. So I sit at like a 5'9" with my shoes on.
I'm 5'7".
Yeah. So we were always told we were like on the shorter side. And I just feel like that's like something that kind of gets like drilled in your brain when you're considered a short hitter, is like you have to figure out how to score points, because like I'm not going to be the hitter that's getting like massive slams every single time I touch the ball. And I think that especially as an outside hitter, that's something that is so crucial to you being able to play that role, is how do I score points? I mean, you're being fed 3-4 times the amount of everybody else. You have to figure out how to put the ball down. Like, you cannot take a swing on every single ball. So I definitely think that's why her numbers look the way that they do. You know, one, because she's an outside, so she is receiving those sets, but two, she's also receiving those sets because she's going to do something with the ball.
Yeah, for sure.
But Arkansas pulls it out. A little shaky, though. A little shaky.
Mm-hmm.
Ole Miss is not a team we talk about.
Ever.
So, okay, perfect. So the other couple games on the 15th, I just want to mention, number 5, Texas hosts Iowa State and wins in 4. This was the game that officially clinched Texas as, what are they, Big 12?
Yes.
Big 12 conference champions. So they officially have a bid to the NCAA tournament. Mm-hmm. And then the other game on the 15th was number 21 Houston sweeps TCU. The only game on the 16th that I just wanted to mention, number 12 Kentucky defeats Texas A&M in 4. And Emma Grome from Kentucky had 55 kills, hitting 500 in 4 sets.
You sent that to me. I was just like, oh my gosh.
Liv, I thought I was reading it wrong. I thought I was reading the graphic wrong.
I know, I did too.
It says 55.
I reread it so many times. So I was like, 55 assists. Okay, yeah, that's good. And then I kept reading and it was like over 500 hitting percentage. I was like, that doesn't make sense. My brain was not registering that it was 55 kills.
What do you think is the highest scored kills? Because I didn't see anything about her breaking any records.
No, that's a great question.
How do you search that? Most kills in a volleyball game?
Yeah. When was it? That was on Wednesday.
So this one from 2019 says Jordan Thompson's 50 kills, the latest historic single game feat from Cincinnati. This was on ESPN? Holy. Cincinnati's Jordan Thompson leads NCAA volleyball world in kills per set. Oh, okay, yeah. On Sunday, she did something no Division I volleyball player has ever done this century. Record 50, that's right, 50 kills in a single match. Thompson became the 7th player in Division I history to record at least 50 kills in a match, and the first player to do so since Sarah McFarland recorded 52 on September 10th, 1999.
Huh.
So, did this girl set a record?
Maybe.
Why has nothing been said about it then?
Because she was Kentucky, right?
Yeah.
Let's look. Kentucky volleyball. Emma Grome, right?
Yeah.
Wait, no, it wasn't kills. It was assists.
What?
Yeah, but she hit a 500 hitting percentage.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
I thought it said kills.
55 assists in 4 sets. Emma Grome had herself a night. It says number 12 Kentucky setter Emma Grome had 55 assists and a 500 hitting percentage last night against Texas A&M in 4 sets. Says NCAA.
No fucking way, dude. I swear in my head it said 55 kills. No way. That is so embarrassing. It does say assist. Oh, that's horrible.
Cut it out. Cut it out of the video.
Oh my god. Oh, that's so embarrassing. I genuinely was like 55 kills in a 4-set match.
That's crazy.
Wow.
That would be, I don't even think that would be possible, to be honest.
That's so embarrassing. All right, moving on from that. So anyways, good for you, Emma. That's so embarrassing. I work too much, clearly. Holy shit. I need to get my eyes checked.
A good thing we don't have fact checkers following us along.
No, I'm leaving that in too. That's the most embarrassing thing ever. Like, people deserve to know. Like, I was literally like 55.
Humbling yourself.
Oh my God. I was going to make a TikTok and everything. Like, thank God I didn't. I can't read clearly.
That would have been a little funny.
I'm going to move on. That's terrible. Okay, 55 assists. That's still a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. So 52 is the record then for kills.
For kills. Oh, good to know. I don't think anyone's come close to that
Except
this year.
for you were born.
Mm-hmm.
September of 1999.
Mm-hmm.
I was only a wee, however many months old. 4. 5? 4. I don't know. 4.
No.
4. Anyways, okay, moving on from that. That's fucking terrible. Okay, on my part. Whoops. Okay. Moving on to the 17th. I don't know how to recover from that, to be honest. That's all I'm gonna be thinking about for the rest of the day. Okay. Upset. Let's talk about it.
Okay.
Let's talk about it.
Okay.
Miami hosts number 9 Georgia Tech and sweeps.
Yeah.
And really sweeps.
Yeah.
The scores of this game were 25-21, 25-17, 25-14. Yeesh. That's bad.
Yeah, Georgia Tech, they confuse me because like they do so well and then play so strong against like them and Pitt. They just go back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
And then something like this. It's like,
yeah,
it would be more respectable if you lost in 5, but you just got swept by Miami.
Like you're top 10 in the nation. Miami volleyball's Instagram doesn't even have a blue check. And you got swept.
That's embarrassing.
This is the highest ranked win at home in the Keno era.
Oh. Like, I get Miami was at home and Georgia Tech was on the road, but come on, guys.
Yeah. So let's talk about this hitting percentage. Oh, and this was on senior night for Miami, so that's great.
Oh, good for them.
Georgia Tech's hitting percentage was absolutely fucking terrible. So they held them to a .098 for the match itself. The sets, so Georgia Tech hit a .226, then a .118, then a negative .074.
Ooh.
Terrible. Miami hit a .433, .385, .241. Terrible.
That is horrible.
Tomorrow, Tenney, who we always talk about when we talk about Georgia Tech, had 11 kills, which is low for her.
Mm-hmm.
And then for Miami, their top hitter, Flor Marie is her name. Mm-hmm. She had 15 kills, hitting almost 600.
Ooh.
And then Grace Lopez had 12 kills, hitting almost 300.
Yeah.
Crazy numbers for Miami. I mean, senior night, pop off.
Yeah. Good for you.
You hate to see it so close to the NCAA tournament, though. I know we just that's kind of going back on what we talked about at the beginning of that. Like, you do kind of hate that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not good.
Especially, and I don't know all of how it goes, but when you're in at least the top 10, maybe top 25, I'm not sure, but like you're fighting for a chance to host at least one of the first 2 weekends. Mm-hmm. So like that is crucial for Georgia Tech that they just lost that. Being number 9, they probably had a very likelihood of hosting at least the first match of the tournament. And now you might be like, ooh, I don't know. Are we going to, or are we not? Again, I don't know.
And how does that affect your stance in conference? Where does that put you? You know, like, I don't know what the standings are for that conference, but like, that could fuck with it too. Like, that changes not only your national ranking, but it changes where you are in the conference, which then changes where you are in the national ranking. So I definitely feel like this was like a huge hit for Georgia Tech to take.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
But anyway, the next game I want to talk about, I wish would have gone the other way.
Okay.
So UCLA hosts number 2 Stanford, and Stanford slides out with a win in 5.
Yeah.
Now UCLA has had a good past couple weeks. So the scores for this game were 23-25, 25-11, 25-23, 27-29, 15-7. Obviously leading for Stanford was Kendall Kipp with 21 kills, hitting over 400. Ilya Rubin had 18 kills, hitting a 350, and 2 hitters had 15 kills, one of them hitting a 556. That was McKenna Vicini. For UCLA, Aman Nidai, that's what I'm going with.
Yeah.
16 kills, hitting a 222 with 12 digs, and they had 2 hitters with 12 kills. So offensively, this was a matchup for sure.
Yeah.
I just think that Stanford is such a threat offensively because of the way they spread the wealth. When your top hitter is a right side, like similar to Nebraska, that's just showing the range that your setter is willing to, spread the wealth. And like we've talked about, that's how you win games. And so I think that, not only is Stanford obviously very talented and upperclassmen led, their ability to feed, to have Kendall Kipp, who's a right side, being their main primary hitter, and then utilizing their outsides when necessary and middles when necessary, that is a strong offense on its own outside of the talent that Stanford obviously has.
Yeah. I also think something else to note that we haven't mentioned about when right sides are their top hitters are when right sides are hitting, their easiest shot is hitting cross, which is directly towards the setter, who's probably, other than your middle, may arguably be your second worst defender on the court. And then if they do dig it, then you're out of system technically. And then you can only hit outside or right side, really, depending on where the ball goes.
Yeah.
So I think Stanford and Nebraska use that so much to their advantage to get other teams out of system. And I think that's where you can see UCLA having a few less kills or their hitting percentage is just a little bit lower, is because they're hitting out of system more often than Stanford probably is.
Yeah, no, that's an insanely good point. And you're right, because when you're the outside, your easiest hit is cross court to the libero, who's your number 1 defender. And then obviously when you're middle, you're working around a little bit more of a difficult block on a much faster set. So that's a great point. I think that's something that a lot of teams don't have. I think that's why Florida has been able to hang on the way they have too, is using Kennedy Martin on the right side. Granted, she's like 6'7" or whatever, like she's huge. But it definitely helps when your main target to worry about, and typically your outsides tend to be a little bit shorter than your middles and right sides. So you're giving your right side, who's your strongest and best offensive player, an easier way to get over a block.
Yeah.
Wow, look at us live. You're just full of so much like insightful things today. I'm loving it. I'm like, you say things and I'm like, oh my God, I've never even thought of that.
Well, like we need to educate the people that are watching. We need to help them understand why we love a right side versus, and why we think spreading the wealth, really help them understand the game more.
It is also like the hardest place to hit out of ever.
Yeah.
Like good for you, because that shit's hard.
Yeah.
Yes. And she is right-handed, isn't she, Kendall?
Yeah, that's even tougher.
Yeah. Good for you, girl. Selfishly, I do wish it would have went the other way. Because they're ranked above Wisconsin.
Oh, yes.
But, I'm not going to be bitter about it. That's still, it was close. It was close. That's just me being selfish, Not me on starting 6, me as a person. Anyways, speaking of Wisconsin, let's just get this over with.
Okay, thank you.
So, number 16 Purdue hosted number 3 Wisconsin on Friday, and Purdue pulled out with a fantastic 5-set win. Before we get too into the weeds, I do just want to preface this. Purdue played out of their fucking minds.
Yes.
This was some of the best Purdue volleyball I've ever seen, ever.
Yes. Yeah.
And, we've talked about a lot. When Purdue's playing at home, it's different. Like, it really is. And this was no different. This game against Wisconsin was no different than any other home game they played. The fans were loud. The cameras were shaking. And you can see the girls on the court feeding off of the fans. And it has made all the difference in the world for Purdue this year. They played fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Now we can get into the weeds. I wanted to preface it by being like, this is not saying anything about Purdue played fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the scores for this game were 22-25, 25-19, 25-20, 12-25, 16-14. Ava Hudson had 30 kills, hitting a .333 with 11 digs. It was then said after the match that Ava Hudson's 30 kills is her career high. She's a sophomore, and makes her the first player in Purdue program history to have a 30 kill match against an AVCA top 3 opponent.
Oh.
30 kills is insanity.
Yeah.
Like when we were talking about 55 kills, this 30 kills is insanity.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's not to say, because Sarah Franklin walked out of this match with 28 kills, hitting a .343 with 12 digs. Chloe Chacoin did not have a great game. She had 11 kills, hitting under 100, but she had 23 digs. And then Raven Colvin for Purdue had 14 kills, hitting a .345.
Yeah.
For Wisconsin, Carter Booth had 11 kills, hitting over 500, and Devin and Temi Thomas-Ailera each had 10 kills. So what's pissing me off is, you know, one, no one's saying what the hell happened to Anna Smrek.
Okay, my biggest pet peeve, and I'm glad you mentioned this, my biggest pet peeve with volleyball, or really any other, any like college sport, mainly volleyball, just because we've been watching it, like in the NFL or the MLB, they always tell you when someone gets hurt what happened, and they just leave us in the dark for volleyball. And I think they do it in other college sports as well, like basketball and whatnot. Like I think football's a little bit different, but like if someone's not playing, you don't have a clue why. You just have to fucking guess, unless it's like a season-ending injury that we can figure
or you
out.
see it with your eyes.
Yeah, or you see it, or the person posts about it and saying like blah blah blah, this is what happened, so sad I can't play for the rest of the year. But for things like this, and when MJ Hamill and Devin Robinson were out for 2 matches, I fucking just guessed that MJ had a concussion, and I happened to be right. But it's like, why are they out? Why is it such a secret? I get we don't necessarily need to know, but like,
no, we don't need to know everything, but like I do think it's fair to be like, oh, you know, Lindsey Crosby had a season-ending injury with her, blah blah blah. Like that's fair to say. Like, you know, it's not, you're not saying anything about them as a person or any, like we're allowed to have that information. If you have a player walking around on crutches, you're allowed to say, oh, Alexis Stuckey tore her ACL. She's walking around on fucking crutches. Like, tell me what happened. Like, and so I just think it's a little strange. And on the flip side, like before the Purdue game, we were being respectful of what was going on because Anna was not there.
No.
At all. She was here at Purdue. She just wasn't dressed.
She was dressed. No, she was
but
dressed.
She had her jacket,
had her coat on.
Right. So she was like,
what does that
dressed.
mean? What does that mean?
She warmed up. She looked like she was at practice the day before, the morning of, and then didn't play a lick and wore her warm-up jacket like a couple other girls do. So I think it's just like that plays to the question that it's probably safe to assume it wasn't anything with her family. So I feel better, you know, not having to speculate that. But yes, but I just don't think that it's something that you have to keep under wraps. Like, okay, clearly Anna's not playing. Why are the announcers not telling us what's going on? Oh, you see Anna Smrek not dressed because she, you know, suffered a concussion. Okay, that's not a big deal. No,
exactly.
I think it's fair to say, and especially when obviously this is a different. Wisconsin's been playing with pretty much the same lineup for months. So when that changes, you're allowed to talk about it. I don't know why it has to be some big secret. And maybe it's because, like, you know, with college football and the NFL, they have all these pregame broadcasts and everyone knows everything. But like, why can't volleyball be the same? Like, why can't we?
Why is it a secret? Why is everything a secret?
Exactly. I just think that when it comes to injury, that's a little silly.
Yeah.
And still to this day, no idea what happened.
And we never will.
No, she's just gonna be back someday. Okay, let's talk about the lineup again for Wisconsin. Yeah. So as we talked about last week, with Anna being out and MIA, Kelly Sheffield decided to move 3 girls around. He moved Temi Thomas-Aguilera to take Anna Smrek's spot, moved Julia from the libero spot back to outside, and made Gigi the new libero outside from not having DS. And they went to Penn State. Liv saw it with her own 2 eyeballs. They got their butts kicked in this lineup. And Kelly Sheffield decides, let's give it another go against Purdue, who, in my opinion, is better than Penn State. Their ranking might not show it. Purdue at home is better than Penn State.
Yes, I was going to say Purdue at home is better than Penn State.
Yes, sorry.
On the road,
yes. Just them at home. They don't exist to me on the road.
Yeah.
Purdue at home is better than Penn State. So for me, and you and I have talked about this, we were in a program where the lineup changed every day.
Yes.
Without reason, with or without, no one knows. It changed frequently. I don't think that's great. I don't stand by that. In this case, I think the lineup should have changed because in my opinion, Wisconsin at its worst should not have had the outcome at Penn State that they did. So if you at arguably your worst shouldn't be losing to Penn State and you do, maybe that's not the lineup for you.
Yeah.
I don't get it. Like I don't understand the justification behind moving 3 girls around versus you have a bench of massive girls. Pick one of them and say, go block. No set. Don't set her. Just block.
Exactly.
Or run a 5-1.
Yeah. My thoughts about the 5-1 is run it, but also like it's not necessarily fair for MJ to have to then be pulled because someone is injured or hurt, like I get that. Like there's more justification. Like she didn't do anything wrong. So now she can't play because this person can't.
Right.
Doesn't really, I get that part, but I don't understand moving 3 people. Now you were changing every aspect of the game. Instead of just changing one aspect, one portion of lineup, now you're changing the 3 different portions of the game. You're changing all of it.
In a small amount of time.
Yes.
Like this happened quickly.
And we talked about it last week. The whatever deal with Julia, like you should know that she's been taking reps on the outside at practice every once in a while, but you should have learned right away from Penn State that she was not ready to go up against Purdue. She was getting blocked out of her mind, and then she was hitting out. I'm sorry, Julia. I think you did lose the game for Wisconsin. Like you could not do a single thing on the outside. You played well defensively. Great. Thank you. But we needed you as an offensive threat, and you could not provide that for us.
Yeah.
And that should have been clear from the week before that she wasn't doing it. Like, you keep her in the back row. She has become accustomed to being a libero. Let her do that. It happened with me when I played, getting tossed and turned between outside libero. I don't know what I'm supposed to practice. I can't practice and hone in on my craft in one spot when I keep getting tossed between the 2. You can't expect me to play amazing on the outside when I haven't played in months. You can't expect me to be playing middle all year and then be great as a libero. You can't expect that. And I think that's what he kind of did. He just expected her to be back to what she was last season when she had a whole other season before that playing outside. Like you can't expect her to be what she used to be.
Yeah, I agree. I just think it was too much of a shuffle against these opponents. If it had been Maryland, if it had been Rutgers, if it had been Iowa, I'd be like, okay, like they'll probably make it out alive. But I just think that there's just too much at stake. And in my opinion, with Nebraska being that Nebraska right now, and them just constantly, they've spent the whole year breathing down Wisconsin's neck, finally get ahead of them. And it just felt like this was taking steps backwards instead of taking steps forward to chase Nebraska. Like this was a silly thing, in my opinion. I don't get it. And the little juggle he did with the outsides at the beginning of the season, I hated and I thought was unfair. I think this was just a weird move. And it's hard not to think that a lot of it revolves around Julia.
Yeah.
Like we talked about at the beginning of the year, not that that's her fault by any means.
Yeah.
But it just feels a little like you have a whole bench of girls. You're one of the top teams in the country for recruiting. Why can't you just throw one of them in?
Yeah.
Like they're not ready? You know what I mean? And the other thing too is like Caroline is a fantastic blocker and plays a great right side. When she has one rotation where she stays on the right side, throw Devin Robinson over.
Yep.
Throw her in the middle. Put Cece on the right. I just think there was a couple other avenues he could have taken. And I understand your point about running a 5-1, but at some point you have to be like, look, Izzy's my better blocker. I'm going to toss her in. Or let's run a modified.
Yeah.
You know, I just think there was other things he could have done than moving 3 major players around. Like I just think it was a little bit of like a rattle, I think, for sure. I just think it was silly and not well thought out in my personal opinion.
Yeah. I did just want to mention, I think we talked about a lot of like the negative or the bad things, but I thought that some of the girls did adjust well, like from the Penn State game to the Purdue game. Like Temmie looked a lot more comfortable on the right side and had 10 kills. Like she looked a lot more comfortable and confident in the right side and was having some of those big swings. And I want to credit Gigi because I thought she stepped up really well defensively.
She played phenomenal. Yeah, she was great.
She played lights out, and I'm really happy she was able to feel confident in that role and play as well as she did, because I don't think if she had that confidence, it probably would have been closer to a sweep. So I do want to credit those players because they did have to adjust, but I thought they adjusted well, especially from the game.
Gigi looked phenomenal.
I mean, from the Penn State game.
Yeah, Gigi looked phenomenal. I thought she looked fantastic. You can tell that that's a position she's comfortable in, and I don't think moving a DS to libero to a DS to libero is insane. She plays when she's in the rotation, she plays in left back anyways. So it, to me, wasn't an adjustment for her. It was really just moving your front line around like that. I just think is a little much. And I think the biggest adjustment had to be Julia going from libero to outside, like you mentioned. So I don't understand it. I want to understand it, but like, I just don't. And after the outcome at Penn State, I had a hard time understanding why you would not then readjust, you know, like, I don't think you can argue, well, I didn't want to rattle the girl. Well, they're rattled. You can clearly tell. So that doesn't matter.
Worse. You couldn't have put a worse lineup in than that. So.
And I also think like, so Purdue took sets 2 and 3. I think that during, after set 3, obviously, and then, set 4, Wisconsin dominated because Purdue just couldn't do anything. They were out of system. It was really rough for Purdue. But like, I do think that like in between sets 2 and 3, lineup could have been reevaluated a little bit. And that's one thing Kelly Sheffield hates doing. He will not, the starting lineup he puts out, if he pulls a girl, that is something that does not happen often.
No, that's unheard of.
He will not change the lineup mid-game. No. He will not.
Like, I get pushing through and finding your groove back and stuff, but sometimes there's just it's a lost cause. And it's like, you need someone to be in there and be that spark. I know you don't want to, but like, sometimes you have to try. It can't get worse than what you already have out there.
Yeah, I just don't think they adjusted well, and I don't think they adjusted well to Eva Hudson at all.
No.
So that's Wisconsin for you. And we'll leave it at that. A little worried about it tomorrow with the rankings, I will say.
I know.
All right, moving on. We got a bunch more. 2 more that we'll go in depth about, and then a couple others I just want to mention from the 17th. Next upset. Kansas, number 17, Kansas continues their reign of terror. They traveled to number 13 BYU and 1-4. The scores were 23-25, 25-20, 25-23, 25-22. Reagan Cooper for Kansas had 25 kills, hitting a .429, and IL Nady had 18 kills, hitting a .371 with 10 digs. For BYU, of course, their star hitter Aaron Livingston had 21 kills, hitting a .254, and Mia Lee had 11 kills, hitting a .529. This is a big upset for Kansas. Yeah. This is big. I love this outcome.
Yes.
Like, I'm obsessed with this. Like, if you're going to do it, fucking go all the way, Kansas. Win the whole thing.
Keep going.
Yeah. No, I like this. I mean, Regan Cooper putting up 25 kills, hitting over 400 is definitely enough to get you going. And Erin Livingston put up good numbers and a good hitting percentage, but no one followed her. So it's just kind of one of those things where, once again, you can't rely on one hitter. And I think that has been BYU's biggest vice for sure.
Yeah, especially because they're more of a upperclassman heavy, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you would think that they would know by now. You got to spread it out. You can't keep giving her all the shine. And Kansas took that to their advantage, like we said. I mean, their win against who was it? Where was it? Who did we just? Oh, Baylor was big, but this is even bigger. Like, this is going to move them up in the ranks so much.
Yeah, I agree. This is big time for them. And like we've said, while you shouldn't necessarily be planning around it, that's big momentum going into this last week.
Yeah.
Good for you, Kansas. I'm liking this. What are they? The Jayhawks?
Yeah, the Jayhawks.
I like it.
Yeah.
All right, we got one more upset to talk about from the 17th. Iowa State, unranked Iowa State takes down number 21 Houston at Houston. In 5. These scores are pretty wild. It was 25-19, 25-23, 18-25, 15-25, 16-14. So Iowa State hopped out strong, took the first 2 sets, and then fell heavy in 3 and 4, and then found the grit to come back and win 16-14 in a little overtime volleyball in the 5th set. Let's see. For Houston, Kennesar had 19 kills, hitting a .231 with 18 digs. Abby Jackson had 15 kills, hitting .239 with 13 digs. For Iowa State, Nayeli Gonzalez had 15 kills, hitting a .184 with 19 digs. And Jordan Hopp had 14 kills, hitting a .462. Houston's been a very consistent team, so I was a little shocked to see this outcome. Yeah. I mean, obviously it was a battle because it went all the way to 5 and a little over, but this was surprising.
Yeah, and Iowa State, they're unpredictable. I mean, they've put their toe in the waters in the top 25 and then have swam away really fast, and they've done it a few times. Yeah. So I think they get moments of momentum, and that's when they beat lower ranked top 25 teams, and then they go back and they lose that momentum, and then they're just on a roller coaster. So, like, I'm not uber surprised, but also I'm like, Houston.
Yeah, Houston's just been a team that, like, has kind of been in my little clump of just quick reads. They've, they've kind of been like Dayton, where they're just a very consistent team that we don't talk about very often and just kind of does their thing and wins games. So I was a little surprised to see, but I agree. I think Iowa State has had a couple really big dubs, and especially recently, and they do linger at that around that 25 mark. So, it's going to be a battle no matter who you face at this point, but I definitely was a little surprised by the outcome for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just going to read through some November 17th games here. Number 6, Oregon defeats number 18, Arizona State in 4. Number 24, USC defeats California in 4. Number 1, Nebraska sweeps Michigan. Number 8, Tennessee sweeps LSU. Number 11, Washington State sweeps Colorado. Number 15, Creighton sweeps Xavier. Number 20, Florida sweeps Missouri. Number 22, Western Kentucky sweeps Jacksonville State. And number 25, Florida State sweeps Chicago State, which I didn't know that was a real thing, but I guess it is. Okay, so, and then on the 18th, there wasn't anything that stood out to me, so I'm just going to read through some wins here. Number 19, Dayton defeats St. Louis in 4. Number 5, Texas sweeps UCF. Number 14, Penn State sweeps Northwestern. Number 16, Purdue sweeps Maryland at Purdue. I just want to put that out there. Number 23, Baylor sweeps West Virginia. So moving on to today. Some great matchups today, actually. First off, number 10, Arkansas faced off against number 20, Florida in Arkansas and won in 5. I was shocked to see this go all the way to 5, to be honest. But that's, Arkansas is sitting in that little shaky ground. So the scores of this game were 25-20, 21-25, 25-20, 19-25, 15-11. So they were literally ping-ponging back and forth. Jillian Gillen for Arkansas had 26 kills, hitting a 359 with 11 digs, and Taylor Head had 19 kills, hitting 200 with 14 digs. Kennedy Martin for Florida and AC Fitzpatrick both had 19 kills. AC Fitzpatrick hitting a 357. This is a battle. This was a great battle, actually. Like, I don't think this should have been a 5-setter. I think Arkansas should have easily taken this win in, I'd say, 4. But this is 2 back-to-back very close 5-set wins for Arkansas. Very close.
I watched this one because it was on TV, and it was Arkansas senior night, and something I didn't realize, and it's nice to be able to watch some of these games when I don't always watch Arkansas, and I have really been able to watch Florida, and then you get to watch them and see who we're talking about. Then you also get to hear the commentators, and I think they can be so helpful when we don't know a lot of things. But Florida has 3 of their starting players out with season-ending injuries.
What? I didn't know that.
So they had Alexis Stuckey with the knee. They had middle grad student Anna Dixon out with a wrist or something like that. And then their outside hitter, what was her name? I don't remember, but she played and was in a few matches, but she was doing really well and was out with a shoulder. And then during the match, one of their middles, who I think came in for Anna Dixon, and I could be wrong on that, but then she was like, there was a few iffy plays, and I think she came out at one point for injury and to like let her cool down a little bit. And so it was just kind of like, Florida is just chaotic.
Are they cursed?
What?
Is Florida cursed?
Maybe. I don't know. They're just very chaotic, but.
What's that called? The yips? Isn't that a thing?
Yeah. In the chaos, they find success, which is super, like, I think they thrive off of it and thrive off the, like, under pressure and the underdog mentality. But because of the chaos and because of having to throw in bench players and things like that, I think that's part of the reason why they have dropped so low, because they are throwing in new players who aren't able to adjust as quickly maybe, or aren't as powerful or smart or whatever it may be. And so I think then also with a different setter, just the adjustments really gets Florida. But I want to credit Arkansas because their defense was crazy good.
Really?
Yeah. And because they're in the SEC, they're number 1 in holding opponents to like the lowest hitting percentage against them. To like 100 or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was like, it was a very good defense to Arkansas. But they weren't really able to hold off Kennedy Martin very well because she's 6'7", and she's going
6'7", yeah.
Jillian, or whatever her name is, Gillen, Jill Gillen, and she's short. So that matchup isn't
that's
Kennedy Martin. So
yeah. No, I just looked it up. You did not use the yips correctly. That's a golf term for when your wrist is spasming. But I don't know what it's called. I swear there's a name when like a team is cursed. But maybe I'm just making that up. Jinx? I don't know. Maybe. Anyways, poor Florida. But no, I mean, I still think like regardless, even with or without Kennedy Martin, I don't think that should have been the way that it was. But I think that's a great point when you have a 6'7" right side going up against she's probably 5'10".
Yeah.
Outside, that's a tough matchup to say the least. But Arkansas managed to pull it out. I didn't know Florida was like down bad.
Yeah, I didn't either. I just thought it was Alexis Stuckey, and then when they put up this like graphic, I was like, oh shit.
Oh shit. Florida's cursed this year, which is unfortunate, and it's sad that like that girl's a grad student with a season ending. That's a career ending for her. So that is always tough to hear, and kind of sucks, you know. They started off so hot and then just quickly stumbled and fell. So,
but kind of good for them that they're still in the top 20 though. Like,
I agree. No, and they're a
what
talented
they've gone
team.
through, like, good for you. That is awesome.
And they're a good team. Like, they're not playing bad volleyball. It's just like, it's just unfortunate because there was definitely a point in time at the beginning of the season where I was like, Florida has a chance to win it all.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say that now, but they're still very good.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, last match. I want to go in depth here. Number 2 Stanford defeated number 24 USC in 4 in California. Wait, Stanford is in California too, isn't it?
Yeah.
At USC. Sorry. As soon as I said that, I was like, wait. I always associate Stanford with being on the East Coast. You know, like Harvard.
Mm-hmm. I think of Stanford and I think of High School Musical 3 because isn't that where Gabriella wants to go? And it's like, God! That's just what I think of automatically.
Oh my God, it so is. It's exactly like 3,000 or whatever miles from.
Yeah.
From oh shit! I didn't even think about that. Well, what throws me off is their mascot's like a pine tree, so that screams East Coast. And Stanford's an Ivy League school, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So for me, like all the other ones are on the East Coast, so that's like where my brain goes. But wow, what a pull! I didn't even think about that. You're really just like light bulbing tonight. I'm obsessed. Yeah. So anyways, in-state battle then here, I guess, top 25. The scores were pretty crazy. So it was 26-28, 25-14, 25-15, 32-30.
Yeah.
Stanford pulls it out in 4. Kendall Kipp had 18 kills, hitting a 340 with 12 digs. And for USC, London Weejay had 12 kills, hitting under 100 with 15 digs. The moral of the story is that USC hit like shit.
Yeah.
That's really as much as you can say it. Like they hit a 191, a negative 0.034, 0.034, 200. Stanford never hit under 200.
No.
So you can't win when you're hitting negative and Stanford's hitting over 200.
Yeah.
But you know, it still was like a battle. So I would have loved to see a bit of a rematch with USC playing better. Because, you know, again, selfishly, it would have been nice to see Stanford lose.
I think if USC was playing like how they usually play, that it would have been 5-setter with USC possibly taking it.
Yeah. So a little bit of a bummer, especially because USC was at home. So that kind of sucky as well. But one of those off days, you know, it could be the same thing you said. They're thinking about that postseason. Or it could be the opposite where like you go up against a number 2 and you're just like, oh, we're going to get killed. You know what I mean? Like it could be that mentality too, because I remember there was a couple games that I felt that way. I was like, what's the point of us even playing this game? Like we're going to get fucking smoked. And we did. So it is kind of one of those things too. Sometimes it's easy to go in with that mentality. It's very similar to like what they say about volleyball when you go in against a lesser opponent and you play down. Yeah. Like it's kind of similar to that, I would say.
Yeah. Definitely. And I mean, USC, it's their second week in a row staying in the top 25. So they're like right on that cusp. If you lose one too many, you're back down. And so I think there's a lot of pressure for them to keep winning. And when you have so much pressure to win, you end up losing, which sucks. But yeah, there's a lot of possibilities for why USC wasn't playing as good as they have.
Yeah. So a bit of a bummer. But Stanford pulls it out.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just going to run through some of these quick. New to the game, number 25 Florida State pulled a reverse sweep over North Carolina and won in 5. Number 18 Arizona State defeats Oregon State in 4. They won set 130-28. I just want to put that out there. Number 12 Kentucky defeats Missouri in 4. Number 6 Oregon sweeps Arizona. Number 8 Tennessee sweeps Texas A&M. Number 9 Georgia Tech sweeps Syracuse. Number 11 Washington State sweeps Utah. Number 15 Creighton sweeps Butler. Number 3 Wisconsin sweeps Indiana. They were back to a normal lineup in this game, and they swept.
Yeah, and Anna Schmeck was like she never left.
You must be right. It must have been concussion protocol.
I don't know.
Well, at least it's back because, and we will mention this even though we're not going through the new rankings, is on Friday, Wisconsin, Nebraska face off in the field house. So we need to be back better than ever to, redeem ourselves a little bit.
Yeah.
Speaking of, number 1, Nebraska sweeps Iowa, and this win gives Nebraska the full Big Ten conference title and a clinched ticket to the NCAA tournament.
Yep.
This is a bummer. Wisconsin has won the last 4 Big Ten titles, and I believe at least 2 of those were against Nebraska.
Yes.
So it's just a little bit of a bummer to see that switch sides. However, it is undeniable what Nebraska is doing this year. So this is a well-deserved, in my opinion. Would I have liked to seen it shared between Wisconsin and Nebraska? Of course. But there was never a doubt that Nebraska was, going to be a very big contender for this conference title, and I don't think anyone is shocked seeing it go to them.
No, but based on like all of the things where there was like, oh, if Wisconsin does this and Nebraska does this, then they share or whatever. So I didn't know that the Nebraska game against Iowa was like going to clinch them the full title. I still thought it was dependent on the Wisconsin game. I don't know why. I was just under the misunderstanding. So when I saw that, I was like, wait.
Or like Wisconsin's loss to Purdue, I feel like should have sealed it.
Yeah.
For Nebraska, not Nebraska's win over Iowa.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
And also, like, I don't really know how that was like decided.
I don't
know. Yeah, that's a little weird. Because Nebraska has Wisconsin and one more, or is it just Wisconsin?
Minnesota. They have Minnesota.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what happens then if, hypothetically, I don't think this is going to happen, but if Nebraska loses out and Wisconsin wins out, then they have an even record.
Yeah, then I guess it doesn't matter. Yeah,
like
that's
they already
kind of
have
weird.
the title. Like I feel like in this situation, I don't know. Like I feel like when it's like, no, you're so far ahead of the team in second, yes, you get the title, or it was the championship. Yeah. Then it makes sense. But sometimes it makes sense when there are 2 teams that are really close, and there's the potential. Like, I feel like it's a little premature to give it to them right away, but obviously there's more to it than I know. But like, there is that possibility of them both having 2 conference losses.
Well, Wisconsin has 3.
Oh, yeah, because they lost to Nebraska. Never mind. Then that makes sense. Okay. I forgot about that one.
I did too until you just said that out loud, and then I was like, no.
Yeah, forget what I said. Then it's not premature. It makes sense.
Yeah.
If Nebraska loses out.
It's only 2.
Yeah, then they would say, okay.
Okay. Yeah. We just talked ourselves in a circle.
Now it makes sense why the Iowa-Nebraska game solidified it, because they had to win that for them to, okay, yep, we're good.
These videos are cute of them winning. I didn't even know.
Yeah.
I haven't even seen any of these.
Yeah.
Cute. Good for them. I mean, Merritt Beeson was probably the best thing that ever happened to that program, straight up.
They would not have been where they are now if she didn't transfer.
No. So Nebraska's your Big Ten champions, regardless of what happens this week. And they're going to the NCAA tournament, and they're probably going to win it all.
Probably.
I mean, they're 27-0 with no seniors on the court. So, like, the fuck? I mean, at one point I would have said, Texas might compete with that. At one point I would have said Louisville would compete with that. Wisconsin, I think, still can compete with that. But Nebraska is just a fucking machine. Like, it's just getting to the point where it's like, maybe we should just, speed things up. If they get upset anywhere before the Final Four, if Nebraska gets upset, I will be so shocked. I will probably go into a cardiac arrest. Like, I just don't see that happening.
Yeah. Well, especially because I do think that they also have clinched hosting the first 2 weeks at home. If they were to get upset in the Bob, I think the town would burn down. The state would burn down. Like, Nebraska
people would be
like
moving out. They'd have to move out of the state.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. All right. Let's talk about the game of the week. For the game of the week, I chose, this took place yesterday on Saturday. Number 7, Pittsburgh hosted number 4, Louisville, and won in 5.
Yep.
So this is technically an upset, but not a crazy one. However, the scores I think are worth talking about. So Pitt went down 19-25 and 24-26. Came back with the reverse sweep, 26-24, 25-21, 17-15. Olivia Babcock had 23 kills, hitting a .230 with 12 digs, and Tori Stafford had 21 kills, hitting a .429 with 11 digs. For Louisville, Anna DeBeer had 29 kills, hitting over 400 with 17 digs, and Charity Looper had 24 kills, hitting a .327 with 13 digs. This makes me happy. I love Louisville. I like watching them play. I like Anna DeBeer. However, this is perfect heading into this week and the tournament. This is fantastic because this is what's going to happen when you get into the NCAA tournament. And I saw the Hunger Games today, so I have like Hunger Games brain. But when you get into the arena, it's the best of the best. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's what's going to happen. And I think that this was a perfect way to get people excited for what that's going to look like. There is going to be number 7, number 4 matchups. There's going to be number 15, number 2 matchups. Like there's going to be number 3 and number 4. Like these teams are going to be going head to head because they're the best of the best. Yeah. And when you get to that like Sweet 16, that's when games like this are the most fun volleyball to watch. And that's when I think viewership goes up as well. Yeah. So I think this is like a perfect way to almost like kickstart the postseason.
Yes. And now, sorry, I'm just looking at their 2 records. They're both in the ACC, and they, with the Pitt winning, they now have the same record in conference, which is 14-2. And they have Pitt's record overall is 23-4, and Louisville is 23-4.
Oh wow! So there hasn't been a champion for that conference yet?
No.
Oh shit!
They have the same record now after that weekend. So I don't know who they actually. I can look right now. Pitt plays Miami next week, and Syracuse, and then Louisville plays Georgia Tech. And where's the other one? They might play another team. Don't know.
Yeah, that's
I don't know what one is going to be like the
so
match.
It's probably going to be one of those 2 teams. Well, or Georgia. Well, maybe not.
Wait, I just had it.
Yeah, is there a way you can look up like?
Okay. Wait, I just had one with Georgia. Oh crap.
Atlantic Coast Conference.
Okay. So, at the time of this, Georgia Tech was 21-4 overall and 12-3 in conference.
I'm looking at the standings and Florida State's at the top.
Oh. How? I was just looking. I was just going to go and look at that.
Florida State is 15-2 in conference. Pitt is 14-2. Louisville 14-3. Georgia Tech 13-4.
How the hickety heck is Pitt
all
number?
3?
Louisville is 4, and Florida State just broke the top 25.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. They're 22-8 overall, but they're at the top of the conference. They're 15-2.
Yes. Wow. Okay.
In conference, they're undefeated at home. Same with Pitt and Louisville.
And I don't know.
Wow. Oh, Duke's in this conference? I didn't know that.
I don't know who Florida plays next week. Can figure that out.
Florida State?
Yeah.
Ding! Wow, the more you know. Look at us educating ourselves.
They play Notre Dame. So
They should be okay. Notre Dame is way down here.
Yeah.
This is a big conference.
It is. A lot more teams than I didn't even register what teams were in the ACC.
Man, Florida State's on a 7-game win streak.
Wow.
Good for them.
Yes.
Syracuse is on a 17 loss. They're 0-17 in conference, 2-25 overall.
So they have 3 of their teams in 3 of their conference teams in the top 25.
Yeah.
And Miami.
No, they have 4.
Maybe getting close.
4 teams. Georgia Tech.
Oh yeah, sorry, Georgia Tech too. And Miami was getting. Oh no, not this past week.
Is that as many Big Ten teams that they have in the top 25? 4.
1, 2, 3, 4. 4 teams.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Dang. Look at us educating ourselves while on air. That's
educating
fantastic.
ourselves to educate you people.
We're all educating at the same time. All right, that's all I have. You got anything else you want to talk about? We don't have any rankings to go over.
I know. We'll have to make a TikTok about it.
I don't want to see them.
I know. No, they just they're like Kaylee mentioned earlier, there's a bunch of automatic qualifiers. Some of the notable ones that we talked about. Dayton, they were an automatic qualifier. Western Kentucky, Texas, Yale.
Stanford clinched theirs too. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Nebraska, Colgate, Pepperdine, which Colgate, you never, like, I remember last year and the year before making like our brackets and watching it, and you never hear about them ever. And then they do pretty well in the tournament. Like, they get past the first 2 rounds maybe, and you're like, who the heck is this team?
Yeah.
And same thing with Pepperdine. Like, we never hear about them. They're never really in the top 25. And then they come to the tournament and they're upsetting teams.
Yeah. Yeah. There's going to be a lot of teams like that, I think. Mm-hmm. Like, we haven't watched Dayton at all. And they sat at 18th spot for weeks.
I know.
So yeah, that stuff's going to be interesting. But we also have a lot of things that we're looking forward to in the next couple weeks here. Mm-hmm. So Liv and I have been brainstorming something fun to do in terms of Friday's game, which is Nebraska at Wisconsin, because we obviously don't live together, and that's the day after Thanksgiving. So we're busy bodies with being at home with our families. So we're kind of brainstorming some fun things we might be able to do for that. It might be us just recording like we always do, and then just kind of chopping up some highlights from the match and posting that on Saturday so you can kind of see our reactions to the game. And then on Monday, not tomorrow, but the following week, we are going to have Taylor join us on the pod, and each of us are going to make our bracket for the NCAA tournament because the selection show is a week from now, so that will be set in a week. So we have some exciting things coming up. I'm very excited to have Taylor on. And I think it's going to be fun to make brackets. That's something we did last year. That was an absolute blast. And it's something more people should do because, like, I'm not into basketball and I don't know how to make a bracket because I don't know anything about any of these teams. So for volleyball, you know, this is kind of an opportunity for us to have a little December madness or whatever you want to call it. So I'm excited. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, we should get, like, our moms to do their bracket.
Yeah, we should. And then we should have them on our Instagram so like everyone can see, you know, who mom chose, who Taylor chose, who we chose, obviously. So some exciting things that we're mixing up a little bit in terms of our week to week episodes that I'm very much looking forward to. So we'll have another recap episode next week, and then also our bracket making episode. So lots of content's going to be getting dished out this weekend coming up, it looks like.
Yes, I'm very excited. It's starting to get to the exciting parts.
Yes.
But also the nerve-wracking part. I'm so nervous. I don't know what's going to happen.
Me too. The stakes are high, like really high. So, All right, well, that wraps up our week 12 recap. We're heading into week 13. Like we said, we don't have any rankings to go over. So if you are someone who follows up with that pretty religiously, make sure you're looking at the NCAA Instagram tomorrow. They usually go up at 2 p.m. Central Time. So be sure to check those out. Fingers crossed for not a lot of movement in that top 5, but you never know. Like we said, always follow us on social media. Like I said, we have great content coming through the weekend, so be sure you're paying attention for all of that. And we'll see you next week for a week 13 recap, followed by the bracket making.
Yay.